About 3 weeks ago, I purchased a CyberPower PC gaming computer, and I did a YouTube review on this computer, so I'll provide the link below. You can check that out. Now, there were some issues with this computer when I got it, and using it for the past 3 weeks. And I just want to share my experience on how I resolved those issues. Yeah, so these were the four issues I encountered. The first one is the mouse button, the two top mouse buttons were damaged on arrival. The second one is the GPU actually vibrates and makes a humming sound when it is running at full speed, when the fan is running at full speed. And the third one is the memory speed of what they expect, the limitation that the memory actually cannot run at the 3000 megahertz speed. It's only limited to 2666. And the fourth one is the USB power is on when the PC is shut down. So regarding the first issue, the damaged mouse button, I contacted CyberPower PC and they actually resolved the problem. So the first thing I did is I sent them a email. I forgot whether it's a direct email or a online submission. And I received a automated response saying that, okay, they received my request and they'll get back to me. But actually after 3 days, I did not hear from them. So I just went ahead and called them up. And the wait time wasn't too long. I think it took about 10 minutes. And I was able to chat with a customer rep or service representative. And yeah, I shot a video, showed him that the top mouse buttons were damaged. And he went ahead and shipped out a new unit to me. So that took about 10 days. So it's not a great mouse, like I mentioned in my first review video. But yeah, at least I get a working mouse and I can keep it as a backup. On the second issue, basically the GPU vibrates and causes a humming or buzzing sound when the fan is running at max speed. So the GPU unit I got is this Gigabyte GTX 1660 Super. So this is an image of the unit I got off the web. It's actually very hard for me to show this on the actual computer, so I just use this image as an example. So this image is actually upside down versus how the unit sits in my computer. So on this image, there's a PCI connector at the bottom, and it's facing us. So on the computer, this is actually inserted into the motherboard. And what we can see is actually the opposite side of the unit. Now, it's also upside down, so the fan is pointing downward, but that really doesn't matter. What you can see that there is this copper colored metal piece. Not exactly sure what that is. It might be like a heatsink connected to a heatsink or something. So that copper color piece is on both sides of the GPU unit. So this side is actually facing toward the motherboard. That's not the side that I'm looking at. But on the opposite side that I can see in the computer, there's actually another similar piece. And when the unit is running at a maximum speed, like when I'm running playing a game, right? There's a vibration, and it causes us a very loud humming or buzzing sound. And if I put my finger on this plastic piece, basically the buzzing sound disappears. So if I press into this plastic piece, I can see that this plastic is actually just touching this copper metallic piece. So the fix is to insert a shim between the plastic enclosure and the copper piece. And I tried to use one sheet of thin plastic. It was just a kind of a hard plastic I just cut out from a box. And it actually made it worse because the enclosure vibrates and causes plastic sheet to vibrate. And there's enough room there to cause that vibration to even make the sound even louder. But what I did is I basically cut 3 of those pieces and insert those 3 pieces between the plastic enclosure and this copper piece. And now there's a shim, right? So it prevents the enclosure from vibration. Yeah, overall, this is a pretty poor design. And when the issue occurs, it's actually, it's very loud, so it's very noticeable. Luckily, the fix is pretty simple. It took me about 5 to 10 minutes of trial and error, and to find the problem, and then to insert the shim. So yeah, if you have the same problem, just insert a piece of plastic or maybe a cardboard box. Obviously you have to cut it down to size, and then insert it between the plastic enclosure and this copper sheet. For the last couple issues, we'll go into the computer BIOS. So on the memory speed, the computer comes with 3000 megahertz DDR4 memory. And the issue is that when I go into the BIOS, I see that it is not running at 3000 megahertz. It's actually running at 2.6 gigahertz or 2666 megahertz. Power on the computer and press F2 or delete to get into the setup. So when you first enter this BIOS setup, you are in this simple mode. And on the upper right, you can see that you can press F6 to enter the advanced mode. So let's go there. Right here in main, we can already see the DRAM speed, right? So if you look at the DRAM, you will say DDR4 2666. So that's the megahertz that the DRAM is running at. And if you go to the OC tweaker, you can go to the DRAM configuration, and you can actually change the speed of the DRAM. However, for this BIOS, the fastest that we can go is 2666 megahertz. That's it. Yeah, after that, it took me some time to figure out how come I cannot go to 3000 megahertz for the DRAM speed. So I went to the Intel webpage and I checked the CPU, which is this Core i7 9700. So yeah, this is a ninth generation. And yeah, actually, if you scroll down to the page, it actually says that the memory type supported is DDR4 2666. So that's the fastest DRAM you can go up to. So it's actually due to the Intel chipset. Yeah, unfortunately, this is the highest speed that you can go to. For this last issue is that when the PC shut down, the USB power is still on. Now this really depends on each individual's setup or personal preference. So for me, when I shut down the computer, I don't want the mouse and the keyboard to be lit. Now for others who might want to charge up devices, maybe you have a camera, you might have a phone, and you want to continue to charge those devices while the PC shut down using the USB, then obviously you want to keep the setting as default. So let me show you how to turn off this setting in the BIOS. To turn off the USB power, when the computer is off, we will go to the advanced menu at the top. So that's the third one on the top, and go down to chipset configuration. And once you're in chipset configuration, you can scroll down, go all the way down. It's actually off the page, but okay. So once we're at toward the bottom, there's this deep sleep configuration. And if you look at what's available, you will have disabled, enabled in S5, enabled in S4, S5. So now by default it is disabled. So if you do this enabled in S4, S5, then once the computer is powered off, the USB will be shut off also. So I believe S4, S5, there are different modes of sleep in Windows. But S4, S5 basically means that I guess either in the shutdown mode or potentially in the hibernation mode, you will go into this, you will turn off the USB, and that's what I want. So I just stay with this. Now, when you're done with this, you want to exit and save. Now, in my case, because I'm not making any changes, so I'll just go ahead and discard the change. But if you did make a change, you want to save it and then exit. Overall, I'm pretty happy with my CyberPower PC gaming computer purchase. So if you want to look at the full review, I'll have the link down below in the descriptions. On the first item, it's just accident. So button is damaged, and CyberPower PC actually replaced it. On the second item, this is a GPU vibration. Looks like it's a design problem with a GPU unit. And it actually does affect me significantly due to when I'm gaming, it actually makes this pretty loud buzzing or humming sound. But it can be resolved by just adding a shim. On the third item, on the memory speed, unfortunately, there's nothing I can do here. This is Intel chipset. Limitation is 2,666 megahertz. So even though the spec, right, the computer spec says they included a 3,000 megahertz DRAM speed, that's not the case. Yeah, it actually doesn't work that fast. And for the fourth item, this is a minor problem. So in the BIOS, you can shut off the USB power when the PC shuts down. Yeah, like I mentioned in my original review, when you buy this unit from CyberPower PC, there's no documentation. And that's a problem, right? So it's actually very hard to go through the BIOS and find out exactly where this setting is. I hope this has been helpful. Take care.